With a discerning gaze, beckoned Rurin over and discreetly pointed towards Rain and the man who was engrossed in conversation at a corner table. He entrusted Rurin with a peculiar task, to eavesdrop on their exchange. Rurin, always one to strike a deal, negotiated with Elle. In return for her cooperation, he promised her a serving of his delectable hamburger steak and vowed not to demand any additional ingredients for his culinary exploits. Elle, a man of his word, guaranteed 2 portions if she agreed. Rurin, nodding in compliance, sealed the agreement. As Rurin turned her attention to the unfolding dialogue between Rain and the man named Ment, she overheard Rain's inquiry about whether they should disclose their association to her husband. The mention of Noel, her spouse, revealed an underlying concern. He seemed troubled and suspicious due to the dwindling visits of Ment to the butcher's shop. Ment, in response, offered a perspective on Noel's personality. He suggested that if Noel discovered the extent of his assistance, it would be Noel avoiding him, not the other way around. Elle, absorbing the snippets of conversation, couldn't help but contemplate the dynamics at play. Turning to Rurin, he sought confirmation on the authenticity of what she had heard. Reassured by Rurin, Elle found himself deep in thought, realizing that the unfolding narrative wasn't merely a love affair, but a tale of intricate connections and unspoken bonds. Elle gracefully descends from the rooftop, signaling the end of his eavesdropping endeavor. With a confident air, he announces that there's no need to listen any longer. Rurin, left in the aftermath of Elle's departure, seeks guidance on her next steps. Elle, in response, suggests that she simply heads home for the time being. Meanwhile, inside the restaurant, Rain engages in a conversation with Ment, expressing her frustration at the unfairness of her husband's misconceptions. In strides, Elle casually enters the scene and asks if he can join their discussion. Without hesitation, he aligns himself with Rain's sentiments, agreeing that Noel has gravely misunderstood their connection. Noel in a drunken stupor, still fixated on thoughts of his wife. The door swings open at Elle's restaurant as Rain and Ment enters, a palpable tension hangs in the air. Ment, slightly hesitant, greets Noel after a prolonged absence. Anger courses through Noel as he observes the seemingly harmonious pair before him. Rain attempts to defend their relationship, insisting that they are victims of misunderstanding, but Noel remains unconvinced. In his frustration, Noel questions why, out of all people, it had to be Ment, someone he had trusted. In a fit of rage, Noel lunges at Ment, his clenched fist ready to deliver a punch, accompanied by a furious cry branding Ment a bastard. The impending collision is halted by an unexpected magical shield that materializes, creating a protective barrier between Noel's fist and Ment's face. Wind stirs as the shield repels the force of the punch. Ment, bewildered by the sudden intervention, finds himself spared from Noel's wrath. Rain, too, is puzzled but recognizes the shield as a product of a magic. The unexpected turn of events leaves the trio in a momentary standstill. Elle quietly approaches from behind, calling out to Ment. He urges Ment to settle the misunderstanding rather than resorting to physical confrontation. Laden with a bundle of meat and vegetables, Elle asserts that violence won't solve the problem. Elle reveals that if Noel knew that it was Ment who provided the money for him to start his butcher shop, the situation might be diffused. Noel, caught off guard by the unfolding revelations, turns to Elle, seeking an explanation. Elle, adopting a peacemaker's stance, invites them to sit down and talk. As he begins to prepare some food, Elle reflects that a heartfelt conversation might be the key to resolving their issues. Arranging ingredients with care, Elle contemplates the healing power of a warm meal. Considering Noel's day-long drinking spree, he decides on preparing shabu shabu, a comforting dish. Drawing from Rain's gift of Bellerin meat, he skillfully concocts a variety of sauces, infusing them with the flavors of soy sauce, carefully strained anchovies, and a touch of MSG. In a brief span, the shabu shabu is ready, and Elle wipes his hands clean, hopeful that the simmering conflicts can be alleviated. As they gather around the table, Noel confronts Rain, struggling to grasp the reality that Ment was the benefactor behind his butcher shop venture. Rain, taking a deep breath, confirms the truth. She explains that after Noel fell victim to a scam and was left penniless, Ment came to their aid, offering the financial support needed to open the shop. The revelation hangs in the air, urging the trio to navigate through the complexities of gratitude, misunderstanding, and the bonds that tie them together. In the quiet rhythm of their butcher shop's newfound success, Rain diligently met with Ment every month, slowly repaying the debt that had jump-started Noel's business. The revelation hit Noel like a sudden storm. He couldn't fathom the truth as he fired back, questioning if the money came from the Lord's castle, repaying him for the scam. He turned to his wife, grappling with the possibility that everything was a lie. Ment, grappling with the weight of his actions, posed a question to Noel. Would he have accepted the money if he knew it came from Ment? An apology followed, explaining that he couldn't be present on the shop's opening day, fearing it would seem like deception. Ment, oblivious to Noel's struggles, never imagined the depth of his friend's difficulties. Noel, in turn, had assumed Ment was saving up money for a peaceful retirement as a mercenary. The conversation hung in the air as El, the mediator, arrived with a spread of food. Apologizing, he offered his advice, emphasizing that the vegetables shouldn't be boiled for too long or it might get overcooked, encouraging them to enjoy the meal while conversing. As El served, Ment, puzzled by the thinness of the meat, inquired. El clarified that the Bellerin meat from Noel's shop was sliced thin for the dish, a soup where the meat was cooked directly in the broth. Amidst El's culinary guidance, Ment got a serving of the soup. Ment, pleased with the flavors, laughed and urged Noel to try. Hesitant, Noel took a sip, only to be pleasantly surprised by the taste. Ment stirred up some old memories, asking Noel if he recalled the Purin battle. The recollection brought forth a vivid image of Noel sacrificing himself, taking a sword for Ment. The battle had lingered longer than expected, leaving them with dwindling supplies and a meager, watery soup as their sustenance. Ment recounted the day he managed to catch a wild Bellerin, only to collapse near Noel upon entering their tent. The meat soup crafted from the Bellerin was plain, the meat tough and pungent, yet, at that moment, it surpassed any other option they had. As Ment revisited these memories, he painted a picture of a shared past marked by sacrifice and meager sustenance. Noel, visibly moved, trembled as he responded to Ment. Ment echoed Noel's earlier question, reflecting on why he helped despite saving up for retirement. His revelation was simple, he had no grand plans, helping his friend took priority. Tears streamed down Noel's face, hands shaking as he held the soup bowl, apologizing with a stutter. El, witnessing this emotional exchange, expressed his satisfaction with the resolution. Ment, taking a sip of the soup, found it heartwarming. In that shared bowl of sustenance, unspoken emotions were exchanged, and the wounds of misunderstanding began to heal. In the background, Rurin interjected with a passionate outburst, pointing out to El the absolute nature of a promise to a dragon, criticizing him for something undisclosed. The intensity of her words added another layer of intrigue to the unfolding narrative. El found himself in a perplexing situation, scratching his head. With a reassuring tone, he suggested that there was still time to whip up some hamburger steak for Rurin right away. However, Rurin, her patience wearing thin, pointed out that it was already late into the night. She questioned how El could dismiss her request when all she wanted was for him to fulfill his part of the contract. Amidst this exchange, Ment interjected, calling for El's attention. Swiftly, El covered Rurin's mouth to stifle her protests and casually informed Ment that he hoped they enjoyed the food. In response, Ment acknowledged the delightful meal but pivoted to the reason for his visit. Ment disclosed that his mercenary group had received a mission to escort someone important, and they wished to organize a dinner before embarking on their journey. He sought El's agreement to host this celebratory gathering at his restaurant. Caught off guard by the unexpected request, El's surprise was evident. Contemplating the prospect of a group dinner for mercenaries, he weighed the unusual proposition. The stage was set for an unexpected twist in the ordinary rhythm of El's restaurant.